In the first half of the 20th century, statistics became a freestanding discipline of applied mathematics. Statistical methods were used confidently, for example in an increasingly statistical view of biology. Probably the greatest single change in the social sciences during the second half of the 20th century was the widespread introduction of mathematical and other quantitative methods, all of which were aided by increasingly sophisticated computer technology. Without question, economics is the discipline in which the most spectacular changes of this kind have taken place. So great is the dominance of mathematical techniques here, resulting in the eruption of what is called econometrics. No longer does statistics stand alone, a separate discipline, as it did in effect during the 19th century. This area today is inseparable from each of the social sciences. Freud's theory of the functioning of the mind, which tells us that the human mind consists of the superego, the ego, and the id. And William James' work on experimental psychology made an enormous impact on psychology. In 1924, prominent social scientists established the Pi Gamma Mu Honor Society for the Social Sciences. Among its key objectives were to promote interdisciplinary cooperation and develop an integrated theory of human personality and organization. The interwar years, which lasted from 1918 to 1939, the period of time between the end of World War I and the beginning of World War II, it was a period of economic progress and industrial production the likes of which had never been seen before. Western factories and industrialists stopped making instruments for war and began instead to manufacture products for the public that could be sold in peacetime. The boom in industrial production fueled urbanization as people left their farms to go work in factory. Theodore Porter argued in The Rise of Statistical Thinking that the effort to provide a synthetic social science is a matter of both administration and discovery combined. And that the rise of social science was, therefore, marked by both pragmatic needs as much as by theoretical purity. The interdisciplinary and cross-disciplinary nature of scientific inquiry into human behavior and social and environmental factors affecting it, have made many of the so-called hard sciences dependent on social science methodology. In the 1930s, this new model of managing, decision-making became cemented with the New Deal in the US, and in Europe with the increasing need to manage industrial production and governmental affairs. Institutions such as the New School for Social Research, International Institute of Social History, and departments of social research at prestigious universities were meant to fill the growing demand to produce models for decision-making. Coupled with this pragmatic need was the belief that the clarity and simplicity of mathematical expression, this trend, part of the larger movement known as modernism, provided the rhetorical edge for the expansion of social sciences. The consilience method developed. This was first coined by William Whewell. It was originally coined as the phrase, consilience of induction. It refers to a jumping together knowledge. The term was unfamiliar to the broader public until the end of the 20th century, when it was revived in Consilience, The Unity of Knowledge, a 1998 book by the author and biologist E.O. Wilson. Wilson held that with the rise of the modern sciences, the sense of unity gradually was lost in the increasing fragmentation and specialization of knowledge in the last 2 centuries. He asserted that the sciences, humanities, and arts have a common goal, to lend to all inquirers, a conviction, far deeper than a mere working proposition, that the world is orderly and can be explained by a small number of natural laws. An important point made by Wilson is that hereditary human nature and evolution itself profoundly affect the evolution of culture. Even with the drastic changes, the previous work of social scientists, it still had an impact to the contemporary views. The ideas of Marx, Freud, Keynes and other philosophers are being used. It had enormous influence on states of mind that were closely associated with the social sciences. The ideas of the English economist John Maynard Keynes, which is called Keynesianism, has as its intellectual base a very complex modification of the classical doctrines of economics. For out of these ideas came the clear policy of governments dealing directly with the business cycle, of pumping money and credit into an economic system. In the general area of personality, mind, and character, the writings of Sigmund Freud had influence on 20th century culture and thought scarcely less than Marx's. His basic theories of the role of the unconscious or subconscious mind, of the lasting effects of infantile sexuality, and of the Oedipus complex extended far beyond the discipline of psychoanalysis. Another outstanding characteristic of each of the social sciences in the 20th century was its professionalization. Without exception, the social sciences became bodies of not merely research and teaching but also practice.